back Eastside senior Taylor Clay. Taylor was district and region player of the year, as well as a district and region defensive player of the year. And she was also named first team all district and all region. And joining her will be her head coach from Eastside, head coach of the year in the Cumberland district, Coach Terri Funk. So I just wanted to say first, congratulations to you all on your state championship, and thank you all for coming to spend some time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to go ahead and make it official. We don't have a vote, but if we do, we also think y'all should get state player of the year and coach of the year also. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. But let's jump right into it. Going into this year, y'all went to state last year, lost in the state championship game. Was the goal at the beginning of this year make it back there? Is that kind of how you went into the season?
Yes, our goal was to get back, and the front end of our schedule outside of the district, Coach Dockery and I looked at it, and we wanted it to be very challenging. And at Christmas time, we weren't even 500, just because of the caliber of teams that we were playing. And so, but that, even at the beginning of the season, that was our main goal, was to get back to Richmond.
I'd imagine it almost has to be. I know team, you obviously have to take it one game at a time, win your district, win your region. But when you make it to the state championship game and return everybody, it's hard not to, it's kind of obvious that that's the thing that's out there. So, me and Cameron talked about before y'all got on your schedule, and I had think that had to benefit you all playing a tough schedule as you did earlier in the year, late in the year. I think it had to benefit because you all played some big schools. I know 2A schools in Virginia. I'm not sure what the teams in Tennessee you played were, but I think one was 3A maybe. But yeah, I think that had to help get y'all prepared for the run you went on.
I completely agree with that. Just for the sheer fact that we had to play from behind a whole lot in those games, and so you really find out your true colors whenever that you're behind. And so it was such a blessing being able to play Tennessee High and West Ridge and Letcher County. And going into the fourth quarter, you're down by 5-7, or really, like, we were down a couple times double digits. Mm-hmm. And so you really find out what you're made of at that point. And so that definitely benefited us, even in the state championship, because we were down in the third quarter at one point.
That tournament, we never can get this right on here. The Doc something tournament, Maples.
Doc Maples holiday tournament. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you all played in that every year you've been there at Eastside, or is that something y'all did this year for the first time?
Actually, on the way back from Richmond last year, Jeremiah, we got an invitation from Coach Tiller from Tennessee High, because they host that. That's the girls' Arby's, I guess you could say. And so, anyways, we got that email just because that we had made it so far and we were returning people. That's an invitation only. And so we got the invitation to go play in that. So we actually dropped out of the tournament in Cherokee, North Carolina, that we were in the prior year to be able to play in that one. So,
yeah. So you all down there, I know Tennessee High is one of the teams you played.
It was. We played Sullivan East and we beat them first, and then we played West Ridge. West Ridge, they had one girl that was 6'5", one girl that was 6'3". They were very talented.
Yeah.
Then we played Tennessee High. I believe we lost to West Ridge. We were only down by 2 points at the half, but we ended up losing to them by, I believe it was 16. Then we ended up losing to Virginia High by 12.
So yeah, that's got to be a good way to. Like you said, it's hard to look at it like starting off your season, because you look at your record and you're like, what's going on? But you know, you have to know, to keep thinking this is only going to help moving forward.
Right.
And so, Taylor, I guess my question for you would be, from a player's perspective, was that tough looking at those games and having the record that maybe not where y'all wanted it, just knowing that it was helping, or was it a tough time to, like, I'm sure you're like any competitor, you don't want to lose. Could you find a silver lining in some of those games, or was it pretty tough?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really think anybody was too concerned about it because we knew the caliber of teams we were playing, and I think it really helped. I mean, it really exposed our weaknesses. So I think everybody had a good mindset about it. Like, this is going to really prepare us for. I mean, when you're playing, I don't really know. Is Tennessee high like 5A when you're playing or something?
I'm not sure what they're a bigger one. I'm not sure for what they are, but 4A.
So when you're playing big schools like that, I think you kind of have to keep the right, mentality, and I think we did a good job of that as a team, not getting too down.
Yeah. So once y'all got into district play, I know you ran a table in the district. I'm pretty sure, right? Didn't lose the district game.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you all, Cumberland District for the girls is one of the better districts around here. And we've said from the beginning of the year on our on the podcast that we think the girls basketball in this area was going to be the most competitive probably this season. And your all's district in single A was probably the best overall district. And I think that also going into talking about playing close games, good teams, that had to help also getting you ready for the state tournament or the region and state tournament. You can both speak on this if you want, but talk about that district and just your thoughts on some of those teams and who you had to play.
Well, it was interesting last year, Jeremiah. Of course, that was my first year being back, but we got into the district play, and I was like, well, our games before, it seemed like our district play was a little bit easier last year, but then it come down to Burton and us in the semifinals. So our district, it was like, well, our district must be pretty good. And so then we come this year, and so that's what is so different between the Cumberland and really all other districts in single A is that our number 4 team could actually upset our number 1 team. And a perfect example of that was Thomas Walker in the tournament. I mean, I think we beat them by 10, but that night they could upset us. And so, and then you have Rye Cove, who is very well coached with Kelly Hood. And so I love being able to night in and night out to have those good games, good close games, especially with man-to-man. Kelly Hood always has her team very prepared with man-to-man, and so we know that that's what we're going to see with Honaker or whoever that we face later on in the season. And so and that's just a blessing being able to play those caliber of teams because that is the games that you're going to be playing in your district and your region tournament, and so it's just preparation, I believe.
Can you
Are you
see
back
me?
with us now, Kim? Can you hear us?
I have no idea what happened.
You're back now.
A little bit of backstory before you all got on. For the previous month, when me and Jamar were recording, for some reason we can't see each other, and so tonight we could when we got on. So it was like, you know what, this is almost like a bad omen because something else is going to go wrong. And yeah, lo and behold, it did. So Jamar, I don't know where you're at on it, so you can just keep going, and I'll just follow after you.
I think as an outsider looking in, which I have a little bit of inside with Mark. I talked to him, but from my perspective, you all are a very, very close team. I think most good teams, that's an important trait for good teams is to be that close family, almost family atmosphere. But you all kind of seem just even more than that. Was that, I guess, obviously as a coach, you try to develop that, and that's what you want. But has that just kind of naturally occurred, or have y'all had some team building stuff or something, or how did you kind of get it like that?
That's a very interesting question because in the state press conference after the game, there was a gentleman who wanted to know how long that our girls had played AAU basketball together, and they haven't played any AAU basketball together. And so I credit the Lord for that. we have an amazing coaching staff that each one of the players knows that we would do anything for them, and that we're willing to sacrifice anything. And so by us showing that, then the players buy into what we want to do, and then we're willing to do anything for them too. And so whenever that you have everybody that's bought into the same concept, and that is, of course, it's winning. We can say it's this and it's that, but at the end of the day, whenever that you trust somebody, like I trust Taylor Clay in babysitting my kids, and that's my most prized possession in the world, right? But I would trust her with my life, even with my kids. And so whenever that you have a team and a coaching staff that's bought into the same thing, and that ultimately is winning. But I feel like that our word this year was swing, and that's laying everything aside that you want and picking up what is best for the team. And a lot of times that's Taylor Clay having a triple double with 10 points instead of having 30 points. And so anyway, she's a perfect example of selflessness. And so.
I guess, Taylor, same to you. Let you talk about how close we all are, and what the team kind of what it's like playing with on that team.
Yeah, I think that this team is the most kind of tight knit group, probably team that I have ever been a part of, and that's probably, all just because the Lord had directed it, and Coach Funk's, our coaching staff in getting us all on the same page in every aspect of the game. And then I think we just have some great pieces. I mean, really everybody on the team, like, nobody is worried about any stats or specifics. Like, it's all just what can I do better for the team? And I mean, when everybody is thinking that, like, it's hard not to just be on the same page with everybody. And especially like in the game, that's really like uplifting, because you do feel like you got people behind you. It doesn't feel like you're defending your person, or I have to score. It's like my whole team, like, you have everybody behind you, and that's really like comforting.
Yeah, I'm not
Go
sure
ahead,
if you
Ken.
already asked this or not, so I'll go ahead and shoot for it. But midway through the year, y'all had a departure. A player had left. I want to ask you about strategy wise. Did y'all have to change up your strategy any from that going forward, or did you just kind of stick it, keep it the same?
Well, the amazing thing is whenever a core part leaves, it of course leaves a void. And so I believe that it attests to all the girls on the basketball team, because they just completely filled that. And so whether it was defense or scoring or whatever it was, each individual person on our team stepped up. And so there was a shift not only on offense, there was also a shift on defense. And so there was a change. But it ended up being a positive change, not only on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end.
Yeah, I watched y'all play some last year, and then so I'm kind of familiar with a few players. But one thing I noticed right away, I don't know if they had always, maybe had it in them, or if they just worked harder over the summer and now they got their opportunity. But y'all had several players really step up in big ways when that happened. You had I have to look their names up. I can't remember everybody, but Kaylee Rasnick stepped to come in. It seems like throughout the season when I've watched you all, anytime you all needed a big shot, she'd hit it. Mm-hmm. Shelby Stanley coming off the bench was a huge spark, I think, in a lot of games, whether it be, on defense, causing steals, fast break points, getting your running game going. Then you have people like Brooklyn Johnson, I think. The quietly just has great games. It feels like with the games I've watched, like, she's not going to do anything that is jump off the page, but it's very solid. Anytime you need a timely rebound, anytime you need a bucket, good defensive play, it's like these role players. Y'all have had the perfect ingredients for a great team this year, and I think that happening has tremendously was catapulted you all almost into a better team than you were last year. I think is the emergence of some of them, and it's weird because I wonder if that would have maybe have happened if things hadn't have happened the way it did. But yeah, I just thought y'all's bench, and then not even your bench, but then you have Dameron as a freshman stepping up playing big minutes. You all just had kind of the sprinkled in all the bright parts this year. It felt like.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, Taylor and I was talking to 93.5 earlier, and actually Shelby Stanley started last year in a state championship game. She come off the bench this year. And she didn't complain about that, but she had mono for a month in January. So everything transpired, and then we go into district play. She gets mono. So we're actually down 2 starters compared to where we were at the beginning of the year. And the Lord just orchestrated all of that because I never would have viewed Shelby coming off the bench. And so whenever she returned, Kaylee was playing great. You couldn't sit BJ because she was pulling 10 boards a game. And then, of course, you weren't going to bench Taylor or Lexi Carter. And so we decided to bring Shelby off the bench, and that couldn't have been a better decision. And if she hadn't got sick, we would have never have thought of that. And so whenever she come into the state championship game, she hit back-to-back buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also went to number 3, which kind of gave Taylor a little bit of a rest too. And so it just everything worked out perfect this year.
And so that was going to be my question, just talking about the roster. But Taylor, I guess I'm going to point this one towards you. I know you got a chance to talk to us earlier in the year about the roster around you, and kind of just, I guess, piggybacking off of that same question that we had with Coach Funk. Now, after the season's over with and seeing them in the playoffs and how everybody played, just give you another opportunity, just kind of shout out some of your teammates.
Yeah, I think I don't really think there's one that. I mean, we're a unit, and I mean it's taken everybody to get us there. Lexi Carter has. I mean, she's a different player than she was last year. Her and BJ both are completely different. So much improved. And they've put in the work, and then we have Drew as a freshman and Shelby as a sophomore, and they're just have really stepped up, and it's awesome. I think when everybody does that and is able to execute on different things, it really kind of makes it easier for everybody. Like everybody's a little more relaxed when you have confidence in all your other pieces. And then Kaylee Rasnick stepped up big time, when we needed her, and maybe hadn't got the chance before, and then when her name was called, she was ready. And that's really important for a team to be able to just roll on despite any mishaps or adversity that they might face throughout the season.
Well, I guess we'll just kind of skip for a little bit here. Going into let's talk about the Region D championship game. Obviously a tough opponent, Honecker. Rich history there. I can't remember how many state championships in a row. Knowing coming into that was going to be a very good game. I wouldn't say completely different styles, but because you all like to run too, it's not like y'all walk it up. Y'all get out and run, but still very, very kind of different about how you approach, especially on offense. Going into that game for Coach, what was your thoughts about how you matched up and what that game going into? What was you thinking?
Well, we knew from the very beginning of the year that if we could get out of our district, that we would probably get out of our district number one, of course, that we would probably see Honeacre in the region championship. And so we knew that Lexi Carter was going to be key. And then, of course, they have Taylor Nolly. And so whenever you have the best defensive player really in the state of Virginia, and they have a player like Taylor Nolly, then we just say Taylor Clay. So anyways, I was really excited to see how Taylor Clay was going to do against Taylor Nolly. And then I was excited to see us just pound the ball inside to Lexi Carter. And so then you also have Shelby Stanley, who was coming off the bench. And so we were able to put her on Jessie, not Jessie, but Miller's daughter, who is really one of the best point guards in the region, I think, as far as passing and seeing the floor. And so long story short, we really liked the matchups that we had. BJ Johnson, she did a great job on King too. She had been shooting the ball well, and BJ was able to get it out on her. And then the matchup of all matchups was McNulty and Drew. And so out of the gate, McNulty, I believe she had a couple of quick baskets, and we were thinking about maybe changing the matchups, and we ended up staying with it, and Drew did an amazing job on McNulty, and we really controlled the boards, and that really helped us that game.
Yeah, the Drew, I thought, all throughout the season, but those Honeacre games, Drew really stepped up as a freshman. That's a tough spot to come into, first year on varsity, playing all those minutes against that kind of competition. I mean, and she, obviously not, I don't know, well, nobody plays perfect, obviously, but you could tell some nerves, here and there for a freshman. But as far as holding her ground, made big plays, as much as you could ask for from a young freshman like that in some of those games. And really, another one that when y'all needed a timely bucket seemed like she would come through. Taylor is, from your end, guarding a player like Taylor Nolly, really good range, can do dribble, drive. What's your mindset and preparation as far as that goes? Y'all play very good team defense, but as Coach Funk said, you're one of the better, if not the best, on ball defenders in girls, especially in around here, and actually it's probably the state. So what's your mindset going into those games?
Well, first of all, just knowing, like, if my girl gets by me, I have Lexi Carter behind me, that just helps your mind right off the bat. Like, you got help behind you. But just one-on-one with a player, one thing they have also really stressed is, like, percentages. Like, you play the percentages, and so obviously she's a good shooter, but she really likes to get downhill and is good at it. So kind of try to take away their main go-tos, and kind of do your best with that. And then, I just think you kind of have to have just mental toughness. I think like at some point you just have to sit down and be like, okay, like, I'm gonna defend you and make it hard on you to score. And like, even if it's tough, like, it's okay. It might not be easy, especially when you're playing other good players, because they have the same, approach on the other side of it. And that their team is working for them to get the ball to score too. So, physical battle, but I think almost just as much like a mental, battle there.
I think a lot of people, I don't want to say casual fans, but people who just kind of watch and don't really know, I guess, a whole lot about the inner details of especially defense. If a person doesn't have like a high number of steals, or is not, I've heard people say, you got 5 fouls, use them. Like, act like people aren't playing good defense. Like, what you're so good at, and what I think is the true sign of a very good defensive player, is you guard without fouling, first of all. and you don't have to get a steal. You just and you do this better than, like I said, this is what set you apart, is you can stay in a stance and keep people where you want them, I guess, and be there without having to reach, without having to, most people, if they don't get a steal on somebody the first little bit, they're not staying in that stance for that long. I think you do a great job of staying in that stance, regardless of the steal or not. And I think against a team like Honaker, you kind of have to be able to do that, have that one-on-one, leave you on an island occasionally, because if you can't help, you can't afford to help off much because of shooters. So I think y'all, that's, one thing that really helped you all out was y'all's ability, and not just you, but your teammates also. Great job playing, staying in front and just making, not having to give up open shots.
I don't know, can you see me and hear me again?
You're back now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good
just
now.
Since you were already talking about the Honaker game, we had a similar situation when football season came around, interviewing some of the Honaker guys because they had played Real Retreat and then the next week played Real Retreat again in the playoffs. So you all had to play Honaker twice. So do you think that playing them the first time and going into the second game, do you think that helped, or was it more difficult knowing that?
Well, in the first game that we played, Miller actually got 2 fouls pretty quick in the first game. I don't know if y'all remember that or not. And so that pushed Taylor Nolly to point, and then they were off kilter just for a little bit, just because that she wasn't out there. And so I had several people come up to me and almost really think that it was like a fluke that we beat them, specifically by double digits. And so it was just, it was such a blessing that we was able to beat them again. And I give credit to our defense on that, because we was able to beat them again by double digits, and that was again controlling the boards and also defense, specifically Taylor and Drew.
It's hard to the saying, I guess, is hard to beat a good team 3 times, but beat a team twice and you only skipping playing one game in between. Because, I guess it was. Yeah, I guess it was. One game. So you play them in the region, in the quarterfinal game, then you play them again in state semis. We had that situation with Coach Dockery when I was in high school. We played Twin Springs in the region championship, and then had to turn right around and play them again in the semis. And that was almost one of the worst things, because you just think, a player like Mark, you did such a good job keeping him in check for one game, maybe, or just even if he gets his points, you did a good job holding everybody else. You just wonder anytime they could go off for a huge night. So I think it's almost harder to play a team instead of somebody different, to play the same team twice in that amount of time. But like you said, you're all, the matchups you've exposed, took advantage of matchups that favored you all, and come out with the win. Going into that state semi game, I guess, did you go into it with the same, game plan, I guess, or was there any big changes you kind of try to make going into the second one, or just kind of keep it the same?
We the first time that we played them, actually we had Coach Dameron come in and put some a defensive set in for us, and so we was able to utilize that the first time around, and so that was successful in the third, but then the second time around we had we had made the decision from the get-go that we were just going to sit down in the half and just guard them, because we didn't want to lose people in pressing. And so anyways, it was pretty much the same exact game plan, but we still wanted to force them left as much as we could. And so that was individual defense. And we also didn't want to foul the penetrator. That has been big with us, because Norton has some really good girls that if they get to the free throw line, it's automatic points. And we felt like that with Honaker too. And so it was force left, don't foul the penetrator. And so the game plan pretty much stayed the same, but the defenses we tweaked those as far as the timing and also when to change defenses. So,
Cameron, you got anything else before we go to the state game? And Cameron's gone again. Okay. Must be having some power outage or something in Honeck. Well, we'll just move on to the state game. All right, so it's only state championship in Richmond now. Coach Funk, this is for you as a coach. What are there's a lot of responsibilities in planning a trip to Richmond. You've done it 2 years in a row now. Was any prep different this year as far as maybe where you stopped at practice or what, maybe what time you did certain things, or did you change a lot up or try to do anything intentionally different than you did last year? Or was it kind of just, were you kind of forced to go by a certain schedule?
we actually changed everything completely, if you want to know the truth. Last year, we played the game that Central played this year. So we played at 12:30. So we went up Tuesday. Then we practiced on the way up. Then on Wednesday, we had a practice. And then Thursday, we just went and played. And so this year, it's completely different. We left a day later. The Lexi Carter and Taylor, our captains, and Emily Banks, they always choose where we go. And so they didn't want to go anywhere that we had went last year. So anyways, we stopped this year halfway at Roanoke College, practiced, and then we had Olive Garden that night. Then we woke up. We actually had a shoot around that day because we played later in the day. And then of all places, we had Subway for lunch just to replicate what we do here at home. And then we went and played ball. So it was a completely different routine than last year just because of the game time. So.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, this is for you. I remember the first time I went to the VCU, you walk in, you see everything, you take all that in. You being played there last year and knowing what that environment was going to be like. What were you expecting? Did you kind of have I don't know if you had nerves or not, but was there anything like that was better that you already done it? Do you feel like you had an advantage on kind of because y'all been there before, or was it still kind of those first time jitters all over again?
No, I think that was maybe that was a big thing that helped our whole team. Personally, last year, I was a little bit overwhelmed before the game. Just a big stage, and I know we played at the college, which is similar size court, but just everything. It was a lot to take in, and I don't know. One thing I remember last year is we were stretching on the court, and it was just maybe we don't normally stretch on the court. We normally stretch back in the hallway or something, and which we made a point to do this year. But we were stretching on the court, and I was overwhelmed. I was like, "Whoa, this is big," And this year, I think most of our team was much calmer and felt much better and was like, "Okay, we've been here before. We're a little bit more comfortable," and we also knew we had that advantage on Brunswick, which I think kind of helped us even more. So, and I think maybe some people maybe were still nervous. Which makes sense, to an extent. But I do think that really helped us and me especially. I could tell a difference.
Well, you can kind of tell. And before we get into that, Lexi, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. First team all district, first team region. Congratulations, Lexi.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and go out on a limb and hope and say we think you're going to get first team all state. We don't know obviously, but you got our vote. Cameron, you got any questions for Lexi?
Yeah, I'm almost scared to even ask something and get cut off halfway through. Yeah, I guess kind of backtracking a little bit on some of the things we asked Taylor and Coach, but just preparation going into your senior season after the loss last year. Just going into this year, some of the things you did.
Well, last year we had a pretty bad taste in our mouth after that game. And then after Reagan, that's a pretty big leader role to fill for sure. And I guess not just me, but Taylor as well. We knew we had to kind of step up this year, and we knew what we wanted. I guess first game out of the season, I think what did we scrimmage Carroll County for our first game?
Yeah.
That was a big game to prepare us, I think, for the rest of the season because they're a good team, and I think it just took some time to start clicking and stuff, but we went in mentally prepared, I think.
Looks like we lost. Oh no, she's back. I know. I obviously didn't get to watch y'all play a whole lot last year, but a few times, and then I was lucky enough to get to watch y'all play more times this year. But I thought which I think everybody obviously much improved, but your improvement was a huge factor, I think, in y'all's success this year. Footwork, finishing, little things like that. And Mark had even told me going into the season, Lexi's and talking about what the outlook of the season, and he talked about the improvements you had made. So shout out to you. Obviously, put in a lot of hard work, and it showed on the court.
Yeah, actually, Coach Doc did a lot of those what you're talking footwork, finishing at the rim. He worked with me with that stuff all off season, and we were just constantly in the gym, just working on that, doing drills. So I think that probably helped me a lot too.
I know this is kind of off topic from the season, but we got to ask Taylor earlier on, and so I want to ask you, Lexi, just any pregame rituals or music you listen to going.
Well, music-wise, I'm sure you know BJ Johnson. I've actually stalked her Apple Music, and I found her playlist, and it has all I've been listening to the last 3 games. It was all I listened to, and I know one of the songs was "Lion" by Elevation Worship. I love that song. That song really gets me pumped up. So.
Sorry, Lex, that wasn't you. We lost Cameron again. Coach Funk, I guess this is a question we ask most of all the guests that are players. But do you have, as a coach, and you can tell me as a former player, do you have any pregame rituals or anything like that you go through that you're superstitious about? And if you listen to any music before a game or anything like that, what are you listening to?
Well, it's been so long since I've played, so I don't remember those days. But currently, my routine is I will tape BJ Johnson's Big Toe, and then I will move to Drew Dameron's ankle, and I tape her ankle, and she doesn't like for it to be tight, so I really just throw some loose tape on it, and then I tape Lexi Carter's ankle, and so that's really about it.
They're laughing. I completely understand this. My senior year, me and the big guy, Matthew Baldwin, on my team, I think it was he had to go first, and he had to get his left or right taped before the other. I went second. I did the opposite before every game. We had to do that. So I completely understand the whole tape and ankle thing. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the routine. Even if there's a trainer around, we still got to stick with the routine there.
Lexi, I guess we'll go back to you. We kind of talked about the region games and everything. Going into the state championship game this year, Taylor already kind of spoke on it, but the benefits of playing there last year, and maybe how'd that help out, or and maybe calm the nerves that you might have had, but being there already. and also just some feelings you had when you first walk into that, the gym, go out on that court. Just kind of talk us through that.
Well, the last year, it was a tough loss, but I really think it was a great experience. Like, we really needed that, and I think going into this year, we didn't want to feel what we felt last year. That's for sure. And I think just like being there, like seeing like how many people were gonna be there, that kind of helped because I know some people like get nervous about, I guess, so many people watching, but yeah, I think our nerves were definitely a lot more calm than they were last year. Last year, I remember going out there and I was just a wreck. Like I saw all those people, I was like, oh my word. But that definitely helped us, I think.
Yeah. It really is different. Like you all got to play at UVY's, which is a bigger place than high school gyms. But when you get down there, it's probably the biggest place most people in high school have played at that time. And you all, y'all's community, it travels well. So I know they're bringing a lot of people. I'd imagine it's pretty full. At least the sides, it's a lot of people there. And it is different. Especially that initial run out to warm up, that first time you do it, and you realize how many people are there for you. It's a special moment that you really do need to take it in. You don't want to get too off of the game, but that really is especially that first time, you get to go there. That is a moment that you need to remember. It really is. And but you're right, that can get to people, and you got to quickly get back to trying to put it to the side. But
Thank you.
Got Cameron back again. Welcome back.
Hey, Cameron.
Go ahead, Cam. You got any questions? We're up to the state game. We'll just go ahead and keep going. We don't want to keep y'all too long. Well, probably done kept y'all longer than what we should have. But this is for each of you. Each one of you can answer. As time's winding down, I was watching the game. I was a nervous wreck for you. But there's a certain point there as a fan watching the game. And I don't know if you're in the game, if you can really feel it or not. But as a fan, you're like, okay, well, this is it's gonna happen. Yours was later and later into the game as it went on. But when the final horn goes off, your first reaction, first feeling, I'll let each of you kind of describe what that was like.
Well, I'll go first. I actually was crying on the sidelines. Just so thankful that the Lord just chose me to coach and to be a part of it because, and I told the radio station this earlier, Jeremiah, just each individual person on that team and the coaching staff, it was just perfection. And it was just, there couldn't have been a better group of girls to have won the state championship. The way the Lord brought Coach Dockery and even Coach Butler and everybody together. Coach Dockery, he has more, and I say this all the time, and I mean it. It's why I say it repeatedly, but he has more wisdom in his pinky than I have in my whole body. And it's just such a blessing to have him on the coaching staff. And so I experienced every emotion but sheer joy for the girls, number one, and then 2 for the coaching staff, and then, of course, 3 for the community. So,
yeah.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Sorry. Just like, I think the first person I saw was Taylor. And then I looked at Taylor, and then I looked at BJ, and then we were all running, and it was just, I think I just had instant tears, like Coach Funk said. It was, I'm like, when I woke up that morning, the Lord puts stuff on my heart sometimes, like when I first wake up, and all I could think about that day was, thank you, Jesus, and like I knew it was going to be a good day that day, so like and I wasn't sure if we were going to win or not, but I mean, it was just great. And so, yeah, it was a great experience that I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. So,
I would say, right when we won, I don't think I've ever been so happy and so sad at the same time. I mean, I was thrilled and relieved, and I don't normally cry, but I started crying, and it wasn't even necessarily happy tears, which I guess that sounds bad, but I love our team, and I love playing with our team so much, and I know they're gonna do great next year, and I wish I could be with them. And I guess it was just kind of like you can't think about that before the game or during the game. Like you got to be locked in. So then after the game, it was just like a flood, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I saw Drew, and Drew was bawling, and she was like, no. So yeah, and rush of emotions, happy and sad, and just grateful and different than anything I have ever experienced before.
I would imagine it makes it. I don't know if this is true or not, but I would imagine it almost has to make it a little sweeter, knowing how it felt to lose it. You know, because some people only know how it feels to win it. They only go once and they win, or they only go once and lose. You all have experienced both of it, so I would imagine having that feeling of knowing what it feels like to lose probably even intensified that feeling of being able to win. So, yeah, I don't know how y'all, when y'all run at each other there at the end, I kept waiting on somebody to run into somebody else and actually collide. It was a luckily y'all got out unscathed, but I so happy for y'all, and I watched the whole thing. I seen Jordy down there on the floor with you and all that and everything, and so like I said, I was telling people at work I don't have a dog in the fight, but I do at the same time. Because of Mark being there, but also because the Katie's kids and stuff. And especially Jordan loves you all and stuff. So I couldn't have been happier. I was very biased the whole year. We try not to be, but obviously I have a reason to. So I just want to say congratulations again.
I can ask it. I'm
Cameron,
not sure I'll be around for the answer.
Welcome back again.
I did want to ask if he hasn't asked already. The video that went on ESPN that was shared. I guess the players first. Whose idea was that?
it was Riley Bowers' idea, wasn't it?
It was Riley Bowers, yeah.
Yeah.
About a week before. Oh, sorry.
Did she get it from? Is she a Tennessee women's fan?
I think she found it on Instagram, because about a week before, she sent that to me, and I was like, I don't want to jump the gun here, but we need to keep that in our back pocket. And so then after the game, I was like, we hadn't brought it up again, because I mean, we had to win first. That wasn't really, we weren't thinking about that anymore. And then I go to the locker room, and she was like, be quiet, we're doing the thing. And I was like, I forgot about that. And I was like, okay. So yeah, that was cool.
I don't mean to pile on it. I'm sure Coach Funk, I'm sure you don't care, because you win, you got to win. But I can't stop laughing every time I watch it. It gets funnier. I almost find something different to laugh at every time I watch
it. She was so confused.
Yeah, it was such a perfect deer in headlights, stopping just there, and y'all waited the perfect amount of time to react, and it was almost. And then she got right back in. It was almost it was so perfect. It looked scripted almost. You know what I mean? Because it couldn't have worked out any better. But yeah, I got a kick out of it for sure.
I was just so excited. I had just come from the press room and I had a whole bottle of water and I was like, I'm going to drench them whenever I get in there. And so I drenched them, but they still stayed in the same spot.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Whoever got the initial splash of water did a great job of just keeping the stone, just not reacting. That was a crucial part of it, because if that person had went off, the water heater, that would have changed it. But everyone did a great job. Yeah, I thought that the perfect little cherry on top of the whole day for y'all.
yeah.
You're famous, Coach Funk.
No, y'all are famous.
You're the only one here. Have anybody else been on ESPN in a viral video besides you? And you were the star of it, Coach. So
No, they're the stars. I'm just living in their world,
I did want to ask Coach Funk, and I was going to ask it earlier on, just from having you on socials and hearing you speak, I know how much or how important your faith is to you. And so before we got off here, I wanted to ask you just about that.
We all go through ups and downs of life, and sometimes it's easy to question God. But we were coming back through Coburn, and they had the praise song on that they had actually put on as soon as we got on the bus. They put praise on, and that's a song. Is it Elevation Worship, guys? It's by Elevation Worship, maybe.
I think so.
But anyways, they had turned that on, and I sat there in Richmond as we're going to Texas Roadhouse and just cried. But anyways, whenever we got to Coburn and the procession going through town, they turned that on, and we're going through town, and we get to the red light and we turn right, and I'm just crying, I'm bawling, and because sometimes the Lord allows us to go through really hard things, but they're full circle. And so in that moment, I couldn't have been with a better group of individuals. I mean, the girls are absolutely amazing in every way. I couldn't have been with a better staff. But I know that every single bit of it was orchestrated by God, because I didn't even want the job whenever it came available. And I prayed and prayed about it. And then Gary Maggard actually gave me a word, and I felt peace in returning to coaching. And so, but in that moment at the red light, I knew that I was in the will of the Lord and doing exactly what he wanted me to do. And so, sometimes we have to go through hard things in life, and sometimes it's a whole lot longer than what we want. But if we just keep our faith in him and just trust him, I know that everything has a purpose and a plan. And Brock, my husband, who's now in heaven, of course, his favorite scripture is Proverbs 3:5, and that's trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. And it's easy to trust whenever everything is going easy. It's hard to trust whenever it seems like everything's falling out from under you. But it's during those times that's when faith is built. And so I'm so thankful for the hard times, because it makes the good times that much greater. And man, it's been great this year in basketball. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, the what obviously went through on a personal side of to get through there, and you talked about not wanting, maybe not even wanting that job originally, like cause maybe this team is, maybe that's what you needed. You never know how the Lord will move things around to make, which nobody really knows, so it's but it is a tremendous story. And you all, like I said, I think that the faith you all have, and from what everybody looks at, is another reason y'all are so close as a team. It feels like. We were Lexi, we were kind of talking to them earlier about, or maybe we didn't get to it. Maybe it was before we started recording, but the parade. And I'll get to this and I'll let y'all get off. I don't want to keep y'all too late, but talk about that parade, getting back to Coburn, what that was like for all y'all. It had to be a great feeling. Just, all that support coming through. Let y'all talk on that, just kind of from each perspective.
It was awesome. Just whenever we pulled into St. Paul first, it was like you wouldn't think that all those people would be standing out there for us, and I think that was one of the main parts that we won, just because our whole community being there and supporting us from home, and it's just amazing, like how great they are. So,
Taylor.
Yeah, I think I don't think you realize that a lot of time. Like, I mean, people like know, your basketball team. They know that there's an Eastside basketball team, but I don't think maybe you realize how much some people actually like keep track of it, and sometimes you probably don't ever know, but to do something like that and then come back and see it, it's like, wow, there's actually a lot of people, rooting for us, and it just feels good to be able to make a lot of other people happy, I think, too. Like you see all those people excited for you, and it's like, if nothing else, I've made a couple people happy today. So,
Go ahead,
it's
Coach.
just incredible.
I'm sorry.
Well, a couple things on that. It is the trip back is drastically different if you win. It was a ghost town last year, and so there was a few people that come out this year. And so not a few people. There were so many people, and that just that shows you, one, how well the girls are loved, I believe, and then of course our amazing community in St. Paul and Coburn. And so that was just it's such a blessing to live where we live, and we can all attest that Eastside and our area is a great place to live. We always have the community support, and so it was such a blessing.
Tyler, talking about going forward. Talked about softball before we got on. So you're going to UVYs after to play softball next year?
Yeah, going to UVYs to play for Coach Bitter, and not really sure what in college wise, but yeah, right now it's just kind of see what happens there and play ball while I'm doing that.
Lexi, what's your plans for anything you got?
I'm actually not quite sure which direction I'm going yet. I've thought about ETSU and maybe throwing shot put and disc. I think I'm going to major in psychology, but I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm doing yet. So.
And Coach Funk, I guess you'll be back on the sidelines next year, or
Yeah, I'm going to retire. I think I'm going to retire. This is it.
Okay, well, is that breaking news on?
It's breaking news. It's definitely breaking news. Martin Dockery will be the next women's basketball coach.
Oh wow! Well, that's interesting. I don't even know how to respond to that now, because I had no idea that was happening.
I'm just playing. It's a joke.
Okay. I was gonna say, because I was going to say, because why did he not tell me this before you come on here? That was my question. I was kind of mad at him. So you should have a solid group back next year then. I'm not sure how many. You have any? You only have one freshman, I guess, right, this year, or did you have? You had 3 seniors. So you have 3 starters back, or
we really feel like that we have 4 starters back, because Shelby, the newspaper kind of tagged her as a super sub.
Yeah.
And so Shelby, as far as starting lineup, we'll have Drew, BJ, and Kaylee, and then of course Shelby. And then we'll have Heidi Krager, who will hopefully, her and Lexi Bond will help take some of Lexi's shots and pull some of her rebounds, hopefully. And then we're excited. We're excited for next year, because we also we had a good bench this year. That was something that we always kind of keyed on. Jeremiah was like, our bench is better than their bench, so we're going to run them to death and get up in their grill, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, we'd like to wish, obviously, y'all the best of luck and everything you do after from here on out, and look forward to keeping up with y'all, whatever y'all decide to do. We really appreciate y'all's time. Sorry we kept you so long. But like I said, we really appreciate it. Congratulations again on all the individual awards and accolades, and obviously the team success and the championship. Not everybody gets to end it the way they want, and because you all know as well as anyone what that's like. So to end it on a good note as seniors, that's all you can really ask for. So congratulations, and we appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Cameron's